Today we take on the ultimate Turkish challenge, rebuilding Fenerbahçe to win the Champions League. Though they didn't win the Super League this season, Fenerbahçe achieved a strong second place finish this season with 31 wins, 6 draws and only 1 loss. Edin Dzeko impressed with 21 goals and Batshuayi contributed a solid 12. With Mourinho confirmed as the new manager for the 24-25 season, I figured it's the perfect time to take on the challenge. Let's get started. This is going to be Fenerbahçe in the game, and as you can imagine, they've got a good reputation, good training facilities, okay youth and youth recruitment. The finances are okay, but to be honest, you never get given an absolute bankload of money over in the Turkish league, so we are going to rely on bringing in some smaller names and turning them into big Turkish superstars. Now, of course, going over to the squad, we can actually look at some of the players we have already. We have got some good players. We've got Livakovic, obviously we've got very good centre-backs here. We've got Sayuncu, we've got Ferdi, we've got Fred, we've got Batshuayi, we've got Dzeko, who is 37. I will say that the one thing that concerns me, if you filter here, we've got a lot of players above 30 who actually could be classed as first team. So the likes of Batshuayi, almost 30, Fred, Joshua King, Tadic, Bonucci, Dzeko, some of these players are really got to be stars in this team, so we haven't got long with them at all. Money-wise, we haven't really got any players that are worth an absolute ton of money, but we've got players that I think can obviously win this division and hopefully get us somewhat towards the Champions League, because that is the aim of the video. Now, what I'm going to do is, purely for the purpose of this video, I figured it was fair that we pick one of the Mourinho tactics to start with that I made obviously in a previous video. Let's go over and show you what we're working with. For the first season, this is going to be the tactic we are going to be using. It is going to be the Mourinho 3-5-2. We're going to see what happens with it. Obviously, we have got wingers that aren't really going to get game time like this, so I'm going to chop and change throughout the season until we get a system I'm 100% happy with. But for that first season, of course, we are going to have 4 competitions we are going to be playing in: the Turkish Super League, the Conference League, the Turkish Super Cup and the Turkish Cup, and they are predicting a finish of a grand total of first place, which is to be expected. It is more than fair enough. Of course, if you are playing back home, for example, I will say as well, you would have a very small budget of just under £1 million, so you got to be careful with the players you sign because you ain't got a lot of money at all. So let's get into the first season. We're not going to sign anyone. Let's see what we can do and see how far we can get to the overall goal. So we actually started off the season really strong, to be honest, winning every single friendly game, bar one in a draw there in 1-1 fashion. We then got off into the Europa Conference League sort of league phase, and we got off to a very strong path in a 6-1 fashion. We then backed that up with a 1-0 fashion, meaning 7 goals scored in 2 Europa Conference League sort of phase games. We start off the Super League very well there against Sanaspor in 2-1 fashion. Batshuayi and Dusan Tadic are going to be the goal scorers. We actually nearly went invincible throughout the entire of August, apart from a 2-1 defeat there against Levski, which is a little bit annoying, but at the end of the day, you can't really complain at what we've done so far. Now, of course, going down to September in the Super League, we are going to maintain invincible, with Edin Dzeko picking up quite a fair few goals, alongside a Batshuayi contributing a goal there in the 91st minute in the Europa Conference League phase again, as we do look to continue down into the likes of October, where we are going to lose 1 game against Fiorentina in 2-1 fashion. Edin Dzeko, again, as you can see, being the real star man so far, scoring every single goal possible. As we then move on over into November, with Fiorentina being a little bit of a tough fixture there, drawing 3-3, as we are going to match up then against Adana and draw 1-1 again, so a bit of a rough spell there in November, but luckily we bounce it back in the Super League and back in the Europa Conference League with a 3-1 win in the league and a 4-0 win over Beki Hacken, obviously in that Conference League stage. We then go into a very solid December phase in the season, where we only actually failed to win 1 game, drawing unfortunately against Hatayspor in the Super League, but other than that, it's utter dominance throughout the entire thing, as is January. I mean, January was a ridiculous season, as you can see here, or a month in the season, should I say. 5-1, 3-0, 5-2, 2-0, 2-1, 3-0. Really convincing stuff, and it is really strong scenes at the end of the day, as we go through to February and do the same, apart from failing to win 1 game here against Panathinaikos, where unfortunately we do draw 1-1, but obviously we've done enough to get past that in the knockoff. So that is the main part of this video, as we are going to progress through the competition into March 2024, where we win another game in the Super League with Fred, Tadic and Dzeko, who scored an absolute hatful of goals for us. I'll showcase that very shortly, as we then bounce back with 5-2 again, Super League 3-1, Midtjylland 3-1. They got absolutely demolished in that knockout right there. We do lose against Galatasaray, unfortunately, to end what is quite an impressive invincible run in 3-1 fashion in the Super League. We bounce back strong, though, against Adana in 4-0 fashion. Back-to-back 4-0s in the league with a 1-1 draw against Aston Villa, but luckily, and it's a very big game, we just about get through and we beat Aston Villa in 2-1 fashion in the second leg to wrap it up quite comfortably, with Joshua King and Ferdi Kadioglu getting those goals right there. Of course, we then unfortunately lose on the last sort of day of that month, basically, in 2-0 fashion against Besiktas in the Super League, going through to May, where we start off quite convincingly in the Europa semi-finals against Rennes in 2-0 fashion. The second leg not as pretty of 1-1 fashion. We then go over to a 2-0 win against Haspor, and then the Turkish semi-final 4-1, 3-0, which leaves us with 2 cup finals. And the first cup final, we come out and put on a really good display here against Trabzonspor. We go out and get 1-0 up inside of 1 minute and 30 seconds. We go again inside of 15 minutes down the right-hand side, ball back into the box, back into the middle, into Krunic, who puts it in 2-0 fashion. And to wrap it up, the third goal, a bit of high press being activated there, into Cengiz Ünder with a fantastic finish. And of course, Real Hasparlis in that final, and we get off to a very strong start there from a very good set piece as we bounce back again in 57 minutes played on the clock. Mert back into the middle, and it is going to be Cengiz Ünder, who, by the way, had an incredible season. To be fair to Real Hasparlis, he did come out and get a goal here. Great bit of link-up play through the middle. Nothing Livakovic could do right there. Completely off guard, but we bounce back, wrap up the game 3-1. Ünder down the right-hand side, back into the middle. Joshua King wins it, which makes what we done a quadruple winning season. Now, that's not definitely done this video because we need to win the Champions League. The Europa Conference League is something I was quite confident we could win anyway, but that is going to be a very, very strong season, as you can see here. 34 wins, only 2 draws and 2 losses there. 104 points, absolutely incredible stuff. And of course, going over to the squad, we are going to look at some of the stats. We've got 50 goals for Edin Dzeko, who is 38 years of age. We need to remember that. He is still managing to do that with V1 assist as well. 19 goals for Emre Mor out on loan, a player who I am somewhat excited to get back into the team because I actually quite like him. So hopefully we can give him a chance and he can come back and perform quite well. We've got 18 for Batshuayi. Ünder enjoying a really good season there with 16 and 22 assists. 15 and 2 there for Bonucci. They'd be from set pieces, I can guarantee that. We've got Nair out on loan with 14 goals, 14 and 14 for Dusan Tadic. Again, a really good player, but unfortunately 35 years of age, so we've got to be a little bit sort of cautious of these players that are getting older. As I speak about that, Fred enjoying a good season, and Ryan Kent. The best performer is actually going to be someone who played a lot of games. That is going to be crowned to Edin Dzeko, the main man himself. What an absolute player. But overall, there's still quite a fair bit we've got to do to this team. Obviously, the age is quite a worrying thing. We've got a lot of players now who obviously are in that 30 caliber, and that worries me quite a fair bit because we have got a budget of 27 million pounds after winning the quadruple. Let's get into season 2 of the transfers. We need to pretty much bring in young players. Anything under 25, 26, I'll happily take. Let's get into it. Player I wanted to keep for another season, unfortunately wanted to leave. That is going to be Joshua King, who is going to be going to Sheffield on a free transfer. But I've gone big on this one, okay? I have gone very, very big. We are going to bring in Arda Güler on loan from Real Madrid. Just look at him. He's absolutely incredible. We are also going to loan in Jesper Lindstrom with the addition to buy him. As you can see, he's actually already going to be joining permanently for a very small fee. I believe a fee of around about 4 million after the loan. But that is a very good player. Played for some big clubs in the past. And again, can cover quite a few positions. We are also going to loan in Scott McTominay. We are going to be loan FC for this first season because the transfer window was so difficult. An incredibly experienced Premier League player, underrated in my opinion. 27 years of age, offers a lot in terms of the game as well. Really good attributes. Welcome in McSauce. We're also going to loan in Youssoufa Moukoko. He is a 19-year-old wonder kid and a striker who obviously we could not afford to go out and get naturally. So we have got him on loan. If he performs well, I don't even know if we can afford to buy him on the permanent, but hopefully we can. And as you can see, he's an absolute beast. Made the deal from Atletico Madrid in Sayuncu permanent. It didn't cost us a lot. It cost us a total of 6.7 million, but the fact is Turkish. We need Turkish players in this team. He's 28. He's got a few more seasons in him. Welcome in. And obviously the pre-agreed signing that I personally didn't make, but it is going to be Raid Krunic coming in from AC Milan. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But now the team looks a little bit something like this. So it is going to be Livakovic. We've got Ben Sal. We've got Dishku. We've got Sayuncu, Ferdi. We've got Samuel. We've got McTominay, Fred, Tadic, Ünder and Dzeko up front. We have altered the formation a little bit to cater for wingers as well. The bench is looking okay, but overall we still need significant improvement because we're not going to win in the Champions League with a team like that. Of course, in this next season, we are playing in this. We are playing in the Turkish Super League, the Champions League, the Turkish Cup, and the Turkish Super Cup. So again, the only change here is the addition of the Champions League. And they are predicting a finish in the league of second place. That does surprise me. Very surprising that does, because obviously we just won it. So let's get into the second season, see what we can cook up with this new look formation and a few additional players. We're going to start off the season relatively strong in the friendlies, actually failing to lose a single friendly, winning every single game quite convincingly. We then go into the Turkish Super Cup, as you can see here, where we actually win on penalties against Trabzonspor. Not the most energetic game. I will say we actually got quite lucky to get back into it, so we will take that. We then start off the Super League quite strong, to be fair, with a 2-1 win and then a 6-2 win. Unfortunately, though, September started off quite badly, a 2-0 loss, which is quite rare considering last season. We bounced back, luckily, though, in 5-1 fashion, which is an absolute stomping. We get a point against Barcelona in the Champions League phase, which I would take any day. We then go to Galatasaray in a 2-2 draw. Again, not too bad. They are obviously favourites this year. Luckily, when you play Adana, it's basically 3 points. A 2-1 win there. We beat Astana in the Champions League, which is a big win because we need to actually try and get out of the league phase at least in 5-1 fashion. A good 3-1 result to back that up. A 2-1, a 5-1 over Real Sociedad. Even beating teams like that is a clear improvement in what we are doing. Then we seem to be up here, then down here. A 2-2 draw, bounce back with a 4-0, a 0-0 against City. Again, quite a good result. Luckily for the rest of November, we actually only concede 2 goals and win 4 games. So it's a very, very strong end to November there. Going into the likes of December, where we absolutely annihilate this team 7-1, then a 3-2, a 3-1, a 5-1, finishing off with a 3-3 draw against a team which I feel like we should be beaten. But overall, again, we're winning these Champions League games. That's sort of all that matters for this challenge. We then bounce back very strong after that 3-3 draw with Besiktas in 3-1 fashion, a 3-0, a 3-2, a 7-0, and a 4-0 against Rangers. Unfortunately, losing on the last day of the month, or the last game of the month, against Bayern, but that probably is fair. It is Bayern Munich at the end of the day. From this point on, though, we have done enough to actually get into the knockoffs of the Champions League, so that will be the round of 16. Starting off with February being 2-0 fashion, 6-0 right there, coming in right back to back, 4-0, 3-1 from Adana. We've got Besiktas in 0-1. It's not great. It's the Turkish Cup quarter-finals, so that's going to be a trophy we are not going to be winning, which is a little bit unfortunate, but hey-ho. We bounce back in the Super League with a 2-0 fashion. Now, the Champions League round of 16, we match up against Napoli. We lose the first leg 1-0, which is salvageable. We were away. We can bring that back at home, but as you can see, unfortunately, we didn't. 3-3 fashion, not good at all. Quite annoying to be exiting that early in the competition, but it is the first time we're actually in there, so maybe I should be expecting it. 4-1 coming in there to bounce back in the Super League, followed by a 6-2, and we actually win every single game all the way down the calendar, apart from this one here against Gostpi in 2-1 fashion, where we do lose, obviously 2-1, with McTominay getting the goal. But overall, it is a very, very strong season. So this is what we were able to win over these sort of seasons then. So it is going to be in this season, the Turkish Super Cup, we are going to be winning that, and the Turkish Super League. No Turkish Cup and no Champions League, of course. The league was quite good, though not as convincing as last year, but 31 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses. Picking up 96 points. You can't really complain at that. And I'm sure if we go to the squad right now, we are going to be looking at some real good stats right now. In fact, there we go. That looked quite worrying there. Edin Dzeko, 39 years of age, 53 goals. Tadic, 36 years of age, 25 and 25. These 2 players are now most likely going to be leaving. So that's quite a worry because we're going to be losing 53 goals. God knows where the goals are going to come from. They need to come from somewhere, though, because that is quite concerning. 11 for Sayuncu, 11 for Lindstrom, the loanee. Arda Güler enjoying an okay season. Can we afford him realistically? I don't know. I mean, we're talking about 47 to 56 million pounds. If we actually go to his agent, I think we can. But we will see what we can do with Arda Güler, because it would be a storyline, wouldn't it? Under had an okay season. McTominay done what he had to do. No real standouts for the rest of the players. Obviously, assist-wise, it's going to be 25 dominated from Tadic. Ferdy is playing okay. I want to see a bit more from Ferdy, though, because I know he can really be a top player. And at the moment, he's sort of in the middle somewhere. But it's a decent season, not a perfect season. Again, so many areas we can improve on. We just need to replace, obviously, where the goals are going to be coming from, because Dzeko's going to be leaving most likely. We need to sort of cater in for that and take action. Makoko is actually down here. He didn't even get a single game, I don't think. So that was a bit of a flop loan. I will be honest. Maybe I should have locked him in, but it's hard to lock a player in when you have got a player in Edin Dzeko. He might be 39, but he's literally got perfect finishing. It's hard to do so. So let's go and take our 33 million into the third transfer window and see who we can bring in. So he didn't decide to retire. He actually is going to go on a free move to Saudi Arabia. Fair play, Dzeko. Go and get your bag. Also going to lose João Pedro Galvo. He is going to be going to Sassuolo, also on the free. A little bit annoying they're going on the free, but it's good to get him off the payroll. We're going back to loans because it's the only option we've got. We are going to bring in Giovanni Simone, coming in from Napoli. He is 30, bit of an Edin Dzeko vibe, which is what I'm trying to stick to. And as you can see, he's very, very similar. He's quite quick, though, to be fair. He's got good composure, fantastic finishing, and only on £55,000 a week, sorry. Hopefully, he can replace somewhat of the 50 goals we're missing. Also going to loan in Paul Vanna. Why not keep the loans coming? Try and take us a little bit up the Champions League table. See what can happen. happen. Obviously, we're not going to sign this guy permanently. I highly doubt he's going to be interested, but he's obviously a very good wonder kid in the game. Really good pre-built at the age of 19 as well. He's on £15,000 a week, no additional option to buy, but hopefully in the one season he's here, he can progress us at least to a Champions League semi-final. And it's getting a little bit chilly because we are also going to loan in Cole Palmer, and I can get this guy on the permanent after. So that is why I'm loaning in another player, because this guy I can actually afford to bring in, and he could potentially be somewhat interested if we do well. He looks absolutely incredible. Ice Cole Palmer, welcome in. Fenerbahçe fans, I hope you appreciate what I've done here, because he's one of the best Turkish players going at the moment. I have put the club in a little bit of financial turmoil. He did set me back a total of £63 million. But hear me out, okay? We have got him back. He is back where he belongs, and hopefully he can cook. And that deal for Lindstrom wasn't actually $4 million. It was a total of $1.1 million. So he might not be the best player, but he's a leading player in this division. So we're going to welcome him with open arms. And what I have done, I don't like to do this. We are going to be playing a 4-2-3-1 for a little bit more stability in the Champions League. Obviously, we haven't got the best team, so a 4-2-3-1 is probably the best option to be nice and balanced. Now, I'm going to lock in the following players. Livakovic, Fred, Vanna, Arda, Palmer, and Simone are going to be right in there, purely because I want to see how well they do in this team. Palmer especially, because I really want to try and sign him on the permanent, so we're going to see how much he can actually cook in this team. Hopefully he can. We are, of course, going to be playing in the same competitions: the Super League, the Champions League, the Cup, and the Super Cup, and they are predicting a finish of first place, back to being at top. Let's get into Season 3. Similar to past seasons, we start off with the friendlies very, very strong. 5-0, 3-1, 10-1, 3-1. We also win the Turkish Super Cup here against Besiktas on penalties again, so it is quite close, but we will take that and move on. We then go to a very, very strong start, actually, in the Super League with 3-0 fashion, 3-0. This is against Besiktas, by the way. A very good team there. Not enjoying a good start against us this season. We then, unfortunately, draw there quite early on, which is a little bit annoying, but at least Cole Palmer's getting his goal right there. We draw back-to-back games in the Super League, actually. A little bit annoying, but a smile gets put back on the face, so we are going to beat Tottenham in the Champions League phase, backed up with a 5-2 performance and a 4-1 win over Galatasaray. RB Leipzig, the Red Bull group, come and humble us in 4-1 fashion in the Champions League phase. So we beat a team 4-1, we got beat 4-1, some would say instant karma. We bounced back there with 6-2, 5-1, 1-0 and 3-1. Cole Palmer looks like he's getting quite involved, which I like to be seeing. Anderlecht comes in 5-0 fashion there, a very, very strong result there, with Cole Palmer getting 2 and Under contributing the other 2, with Osterwolde even popping up with a 16th minute goal. A 0-1 defeat there with Trabzonspor, not the best result there. We are going to bounce back in 4-1 fashion, a 3-2 win over Dortmund with Dusan Tadic, who did stay at the club. We can't forget that he did stay for one additional season, and Cole Palmer getting a goal, followed back with a 5-1 win, then an 11-2 win in the Super League with, I imagine, every single player. I've just seen it now. It might be cropped off the screen. It is going to be Cole Palmer bagging a hat-trick, which we love to see. 2-0 again after that. We beat Inter Milan, which is a big game there, and we actually go on a bit of a mad spree. You can see this. I'm going to scroll down until we lose. We're going through several stages here, absolutely dominating teams. I mean, PSV, a draw there is not too bad, I guess. We're beating some really strong teams. Besiktas a point from those. Galatasaray 1-1, 9-0 in the Turkish Cup 6th round. A real strong start until we get to, obviously, the Champions League knockout. We played it back-to-back. We lose the first leg and we win the second leg 9-0. And I will show you, it is against a full-strength Inter Milan team. I don't know what happened. They've got a very, very strong team, as you can see here loading in. But we absolutely annihilated them to carry on and progress through this competition. And as you can see, really good results in the Super League, carried it all the way through till, unfortunately, we had a little bit of a slip up as all the way down to the bottom as we go through into the semi-finals of the Champions League. But we matched up against Real Madrid and this happened. So we lost 1-0 on the first fixture away. That's fine. We then go and we only scrape a point at our home. It's going to be Osterwolde scoring against Real Madrid. And unfortunately, that is going to be our Champions League exit. And at the same time, very frustrating fashion, we also do lose the Turkish Cup sort of second leg as well. We lose 3-2 on the first one and 2-1 when it comes to the second fixture. So we sort of bail out very late in two competitions. We stay strong in the Super League all the way through. But unfortunately, when it comes to the competitions, it wasn't too pretty. And of course, as you can see, it's going to be exactly the same as last season. The Super Cup and the League. Again, the League is getting less and less convincing as we go on. 84 points, only 2 losses, but more draws this time. 2 semi-final appearances, but again, no real progress. Big progress in the Champions League, but this Turkish Cup, we can't seem to win it any longer, so hopefully we can fix that at some point. Goal-wise, though, we are going to be looking at quite a fair few goals coming in from Simone, and this might be a player. Oh, okay, he's joining Atletico Madrid already, so we will not be signing Simone. That's a little bit unfortunate. Tadic with 28 goals, Cole Palmer 27 and 14 coming in on loan from Chelsea, and I will be making an offer for this young man because I want him in this team because he absolutely cooked. Under 11 and 18, we've got 13 assists there from 30. Again, not doing anything too good, but Cole Palmer is the real talking point. Who was the best player overall? And it is going to be Mr. Ice Cole Palmer. I want to bring him in. He is valued between 27 and 29, so it might be a bit of a miracle. But let's see what we can do. We have got a budget of 43 million, so with a little bit of instalment work, we might be able to make it happen. Of course, we are going to be sticking to this 4-2-3-1. This is the team at the moment. This is the team after some signings, though. Let's get into it. So the first player I'm going to bring in is going to be Esteval, coming in from the Brazilian League, I believe. He's going to set me back a total of £15 million, but he's got great potential. He's not all there quite yet, but he's only 19, welcoming, hopefully, one for the future. We have confirmed it, and I did spend a lot of money, so the rest of the signings are going to be a little bit, not downhill, but quite cheap, or freebies we picked up. But Cole Palmer's going to come in, ice cold Palmer at Fenerbahçe with Arda Güler, 24 years of age, and as you can see, 45 million big ones. But welcome in one of the best talents in world football. We're back to loaning in players now, purely to bolster the squad, because we had quite a fair few players leave on the free, which I will show you. The first one is going to be Abnur Muja, coming in from the Turkish League. He's not the best player, but he can register quite easy and is going to be a good backup. We then turn to Akamash, coming in from the Spanish division. Again, he actually looks quite good. Potentially, if he has a good season, I might try and sign him on a permanent. He looks really well-rounded, can cover so many positions, it's absolutely unreal. On £25,000 a week, I'm not going to turn him down. I then hit up the recently released market and picked up a Besiktas player, which is quite surprising, but when you pay the money, they're happy to do it. And we are going to welcome in Remzi Yildirim, I believe so you say that. He is a striker, and to be honest, it's a bit of a gamble. I got him mainly off two factors, his aggression and his determination. He looks like a bit like a nut job. He looks like he's going to be quite determined, or he's literally determined. He's only on £3,500 a week. He's 16 years of age. There's no harm bringing him in. Also pick up a previous player released from Trabzonspor. He's going to come in at 18 years of age. That is going to be Kursat Ear coming in. Sorry if I'm butchering that. He's on £45 a week. Not probably going to get any game time, but I might see what he's like, because at the age of 18, he's got some okay attributes. I mean, he's got good technique, he's got good bravery, good natural fitness. He's not half bad for an 18-year-old. I might give him a whirl in the team. I'll consider it. But on the other side of things, as you can see, we lost a ton of players on the free, simply would not renew their contracts. So it's going to be Krunic and Tadic being a real standout, alongside of this guy right here, and Lincoln, of course. Now, there are a lot of players going. Obviously, it looks really, really bad, but there was nothing I could physically do. They did not want a new contract, and teams were already approaching them with fresh deals. So hopefully, our team is not too small to somewhat be competitive in the next season. This is what we're going to be rolling with. As you can see, we are going to be locking in Livakovic, Ferdi, Fred, Arda, Esteval, Palmer, and Remzi up front, and hopefully that does pay off quite well. I'm going to stick with a 4-2-3-1 for now, because it got us to a semi-final. You can't really complain at that. Of course, competition-wise, we are playing in the same competitions, the Super League, the Champions League, the Turkish Super Cup, and that Turkish Cup as well. So hopefully, we can obviously carry on being quite well. They are going to predict a finish of first place, despite losing, I believe, 8+ players, so we still must have quite a decent team. Let's get into season number 4 with a few new signings. Can't believe we've got Cole Palmer. Let's get into season 4. I will show you this game. It is the Super Cup final against Galatasaray, because it's obviously a direct rival and a very strong team. Remzi gets his first competitive goal to make it 1-0. They bounce back, though, in the 54th minute with just a bit of individual quality there from Kareem. Fair play to him. But this is now an extra time, bear in mind. 91 minutes on the clock. Under goes down the right-hand side, takes on everyone, drives it back in the middle to Arda Güler to make it 2-1. So we're winning at this point, but it's not enough for us. We go again, wrap up another goal to make it 3-1. It is going to be Lindstrom stepping up and making it 3-1. And we've got time for 4. Ryan Kane into Arda Güler, into Osterwolde, back into the middle, into Arda Güler again to make it 4. And to make it 5 is Arda Güler. What a bottle. this season was a mixture of emotions, and you are going to see this as we go down the schedule now. So the friendlies were quite strong, apart from a 2-2 draw against Burnley. Quite interesting. The Super Cup we watched, obviously we battered them 5-1 in the end. We then got off to a really, really strong start. I mean, we're talking almost going 3 months, or almost 4 months, without losing a single game. The first loss actually coming in against, well, AC Milan. We drew against Dortmund, we drew against Bayern, obviously the German duo. But other than that, it was a really, really strong start. An 8-1 win there against Lecce in the Champions League phase. Really strong in the Super League, beating Juventus even 3-0 there, with Ramsey, who is turning into some player, by the way. So I'm glad I locked him in. We then lose in the Super League after that, a little bit annoying. But then we beat PSG with Arda Güler scoring 1, and Under also scoring 1. A very, very strong season, or a very strong game in the season there. But again, it's up and down. 2-0 win, 2-0 loss. 3-0 win, 3-1 loss, a 10-0 win. That is in the Turkish, 5th round of the Cup. So we are playing quite a weak team. We carried that on with a 4-0, beating Ajax 2-1, beating Samspor, I believe how you say that, in 4-2 fashion. Then we lose to Angers 2-1 in the Champions League, in the phase, which is very, very frustrating. And as you can see, I don't want to even talk about it. We carry on the Turkish Cup. We then play Angers in the knockout. Lose 2-1 in the first leg and the away leg, and we are knocked out of the Champions League before we could even really start playing. It was an absolute embarrassment, an absolute disgrace. I mean, I don't know what the game was actually looking like, whether we deserved to lose it, whether we didn't, but as you can see, whether we like it or not, UEFA Champions League knockout, second leg, we lose 4-2. Yes, we dominated the stats, but it doesn't win you games all the time. That is an absolute disgrace. That is an awful performance. Other than that, we actually win every single game or draw. We go invincible all the way to the end until that Turkish Cup final where, again, we find a way to bottle it and we lose against Galatasaray. So, again, it is going to be the same trophies. The Super Cup and the Turkish Super League. We are now falling back in the Champions League progress, so it's not looking good. It's not looking good, bruv. If you've been watching the Sidemen thing, you'll like that. But 85 points on the tally, 3 losses again, so it's not too bad, but the draws as well stacking up. We're getting less and less dominating. We really need to try and take the team by the scruff of the neck now and find out what the weakness is. What the weakness wasn't is going to be the goals coming out from Remzi Yildirim. Now, he was locked in to play every single game, and he stayed fit, so he played a lot of the games, but this guy is developing into somewhat of an absolute monster. What a player he is. We've got Arda Güler with 34 goals, 12 assists, 22 and 19 for Ice Cold Palmer, 10 and 7 for Esteval, an okay season. Lindstrom doing his thing is always going to be a backup, so 10's fine from him. Assist-wise, obviously got 19, 12, 11, 11, 10. The players aren't really, they're not playing bad, but we're just losing clutch games. Now, what I will say is I've noticed this. If you go back to the start of the video and compare it now, we've actually got players now with quite a significant amount of value. 48 million for Palmer, Gulag being valued at 40 to 45. Remzi is worth a lot more than that, I can tell you that right now. The team we're building is actually quite strong, to be honest with you, but I've got a theory, I've got a plan in this tactical brain of mine. You're going to hear me out now, and you're going to understand why after this, but I'm going to be switching to a 2-striker formation. And we have been given a budget of £46 million to take into what is going to be the 5th transfer window. I've got a plan. If I can make it happen, you're going to love it. This is why we're playing 2 up front. We are going to be bringing in Vitor Roque, coming in from Barcelona, and I'll show you the price why I brought him. £17 million. You physically cannot complain about that. He's 22 years of age, a leading Super League player, good finishing, good composure, quite quick on the ball, and him and the star boy up front are going to absolutely cook. Needs another right back, and I'm going to bring in Julian Araujo, coming in from Manchester United, the 25-year-old Mexican, very versatile, similar to Ferdi Kalioglu, can play on the right and the left-hand side on £51,000 a week. He's quick, decent at tackling, okay at crossing. He's okay. He will do for us. Then pick up a player purely for registration purposes. That is going to be Toshu, coming in from Rizepor. I believe how you say that. He's 26 years of age. He's not horrific. He's not the best centre-back in the game, but he will do. He will actually get some game time, and he's very easy to register. Lastly, for a whopping £28 million, we are going to bring in Magical Merlin Roll, coming in from Freiburg. He cost me a fair bit, as I said. He's on £75,000 a week, but he will be one of our best midfield players in this team by quite some distance. He can play a variety variety of roles. He's still quite young, a leading player, incredibly well balanced, and the team now is going to look a little bit like this. So we are going to lock in with a 4-2-4 system. Again, if you want to get this rebuild file and this tactics over on the Patreon in the description below, it's going to be quite a fun one, and you've got some good players to work with. The only two players I'm going to be locking in is going to be Vitor Roque and Ramsey up front. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be pretty interesting actually what happens, because it's quite a bold move for a rebuild, because this could change it from being a 5-season rebuild to a 25-season rebuild. A complete tactical change is absolute madness, but sometimes it works. We are playing in the Turkish Super League, the Champions League, and the Turkish Super Cup, so one less competition, and they are going to be predicting a finish of second place. It might be fair. Let's go in to the 5th season. Can we wrap up the Champions League? So starting off in July then, in the friendlies, we actually only failed to win one, losing to Porto on the sort of last bit of the season, or last bit of the pre-season, not the season. August, we're not going to talk about the first game, as we are going to get battered 5-2 fashion over Galatasaray, and this is where I panicked about the tactic a little bit, because I'm like, is it going to work? But as you can see, from this point onwards, all the way down, we actually failed to lose a single game, beaten Bayern Munich, drawn against Lazio, and beaten some other very decent teams over in Turkey, where unfortunately we do lose finally in the league there in 3-2 fashion. But to our credit, we bounced back in 3-0 fashion against Leipzig, a team that done us over 4-1 recently, so a big improvement there. With Araujo, our right back, actually getting 2 goals. We then beat Galatasaray 3-1 in the Super League. Draw, unfortunately, there against Başakşehir. We bring it back 5-0, beat Arsenal 4-0. And this is utter dominance all the way through, progressing through the Turkish Cup, progressing through the Champions League phase, putting on a real display past everyone. Beating, again, a very, not a decent team. Manzia aren't the best team in Turkey. We've got to beat them 4-0 fashion to progress in the Turkish Cup. Get to the quarterfinals of the Turkish Cup. We win that 2-1. Now, this is where things get interesting. This is where the popcorn comes out, okay? Because this is where we play RB Leipzig. Now, this is going to be the first knockout round, so we're going to talk through the journey of this because it gets quite dramatic. So the first sort of knockout of the Champions League, the round of 16, is going to be against RB Leipzig, which we did win 7-5 on aggregate, so it was quite close. The second leg carried quite hard as we did score 3, but we are through, of course, to the next stage. What wasn't as challenging is going to be the quarterfinals, as we actually win 4-0 on aggregate, beating Milan 2-0 in the first leg and 2-0 in the second. Goodbye to Milan. We then go on to get simply outclassed against Tottenham in the first leg of the semi-final. That's not a pretty one. But we bounce back when we're at home and we beat them 2-0, so we get through just by 1 goal. We did dominate the game. Cole Palmer and Arda Güler are going to be thanked for that. Same time of that going on, we actually progressed through the Turkish semi-cup final, meaning we are now going to be in the final of that. We are going to beat Besiktas 6-2 over 2 legs. Quite convincing. So that means 2 finals. The first one is going to be in the Turkish Cup final against Galatasaray, where we got off to a bit of a rough start inside of 15 minutes, but luckily 51 minutes on the clock, Arda Güler does turn up down the right into the middle. Vitor Roque dummies it into Cole Palmer to equalise, and we go on to win it in the 65th minute. What are they doing? The biggest game in this entire video, the Champions League final, where we get off to a flyer of a start inside of 8 minutes. But Man City, who have got a whole new array of players in, equalise inside of 40 minutes there. And I was quite nervous, but I don't know why, because we've got 30, plays it back into Cole Palmer, cuts inside, and levers it into the top right-hand corner. Every single penny was worth it for him, as we are going to go through again with Cole Palmer, and Vitor Roque makes it 3-1. But it's not over there. Man City are going to bounce back with a goal of their own, with Ruben Diaz into Bob, but it wasn't enough. We are going to be your Champions League winners. And that is right, the challenge is completed. Fenerbahçe, Champions League winners in 5 seasons. A very unique way about going about it, but in that last season, it is going to be a treble. The one we didn't win is the Turkish Super Cup. The challenge I'm going to set for you is to obviously do the quadruple. We only lose, or we lose 4 games. We draw 1 game, just about win the Super League by 6 points. I believe the closest ever been out of the entire video, but the challenge has been completed. Quite a tough one. Please keep commenting below any challenges you want to see in this video, and please let me know what you thought of the editing in this video, because I'm trying to make these videos a lot more sort of different to the tactics, a lot more detailed, so hopefully you do like them. But as you can see, the last season was very, very strong. 41 goals for Cole Palmer, 35 for Roque, 34 for Ramsey, who was turned into a baller, by the way. Under with 12, 10 for Lindstrom. Assist-wise, we've got a variety of players, and this team now is looking special. And this tactic is something special as well. The famous 4-2-4, very different to what I've ever played before with this team. We absolutely cooked. And if you back home are going to want to carry on this save, you are, of course, going to have a budget of £45 million to spend, which is a very generous budget for this league. And I have turned this club and turn them a little bit into a better reputation side. The training stayed the same as the youth, but we have turned this team around. We've added an absolute crap ton of trophies into their roster, including the Champions League. In my opinion, that is going to be a serious rebuild. If you have enjoyed, a like would mean the absolute world, and be sure to subscribe. If you do enjoy the rebuilds, comment below 2 teams you want to see rebuilt. Be sure to go and check out the Patreon and join the other 4,000 plus people to get tactics, rebuild files, early access to giveaways, one-on-one tactical help, and so much more. And I'll see you in the next one.